You're listening to the Soju Sessions, episode 7 on the Soju Talk Nation podcast feed. ITZY has been a big part of my personal history at the Soju Talk Nation. I've met a lot of people and bonded over many chaotic moments over ITZY. Coming up, a not-so-crackhead chat with Baegle. We uncover layers of his personal history and backstory, talk about humanizing words and actions on the internet, the personas we all portray, and the wide spectrum of musical experiences. Coming up, ITZY Hits Different with Baegle. Joining me on the Soju Sessions today is one of the OG midzies on the Soju Talk K-pop podcast Discord server. One of the OG crackheads. One of the reasons why we have a dedicated secret Midzi Kingdom channel. The one and only Baegle. Welcome, Baegle.
Where is he? Who? Where's Baegle? I love that guy.
How's it going today?
What's up? What's up? Hey, man.
Hey.
So yeah, crackhead, ITZY, all everything you said, just never been more true in my entire life.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I think it was really nice of Doug, honestly, to give us our own space because yes, like it was kind of nice being everywhere on the server in various channels, but then like having a dedicated, like focused point of contact and point of chat. I think it did a lot for all of our mental health and like our ability to be fans of ITZY.
It was honestly just for everyone else. It's just like it was just a quarantine zone just for us rather than everyone else. No, but
No.
it's great. I love it, man.
Yeah.
It's dope. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
How you doing?
Yeah, it's a nice sunny day. Just kind of enjoying California weather into the spring.
Ooh, Cali weather.
Yeah, can't complain, honestly.
70 degrees all the way around, all of the year. Let's go.
I mean, where's the lie? Like literally,
Yeah.
it's like that. So we did like talk about the server just a little bit, but like I do with all the guests I have on Soju Sessions, I like to get into your origin story and where you started with K-pop. So what were your first experiences, and how was that for you socializing and that social experience when you were younger, getting to know K-pop, getting to know your friends, and getting to know other people who are interested in K-pop?
Okay. So, like, the first time I ever heard a K-pop song, I didn't even know it was a K-pop song, by the way. It was back in, when was this? This was, God, I remember. I remember like vividly. I had this like little like tiny like white MP3 player. Like it's like the size of like a stick of gum, right? And on it specifically, I remember was 2 K-pop songs that my sister downloaded. Because she was kind of into K-pop at the time. Uh, it was one Big Bang's Haru Haru, right? Very depressing song, by the way. So it's like kind of a interesting intro point. And then was Super Junior's Mr. Simple. 2 polar opposite songs. They're really good songs. I like them both. And
Go ahead.
yeah. I just like listened to that for a bit, and I'm like, this is pretty cool. And then K-pop kind of took like a back seat in my life because it's like I mainly listen to like kind of like rap and hip hop like in middle school, and then it really took the forefront for me around high school, right? Which is when I met other K-pop friends, and was when K-pop really started to pop off, was in high school, right? You know, like the BTS, like 2017 around there, just when BTS really started to hit the ground running, right? So K-pop kind of surged forward for me there, and yeah, that was like my intro into K-pop, and from there I listened to the podcast, and I jumped on the server too. It was lit.
Yeah, like the podcast and the server have done a lot to connect us with other people. from your story, it actually sounds like super similar to Mina and Max, where all three of you grew up with
Yeah, of course.
K-pop, like adjacent. Like it was something in your life when you were in middle school and high school, but you've it seems like all three of you followed rap and hip hop more.
Yeah.
In their experiences, they use it as an escape from certain things in life. For you, what was the role of rap and hip hop to kind of formulate who you were and give you a separation from kind of the tougher things in life?
Well, basically a thing that a lot of people know about me is like I have my headphones in like 90% of the time. Like there is very rarely a time you will find me without headphones, and honestly, it's just because I really like music. Like I just like it as a way to um I guess like kind of I guess like express energy, and it's all about like a give and take. I guess it's like I receive this good like this dope music, right, and it'll give me energy to do whatever else throughout my day, and that's just the role of music in my life. And of course, it's when I switched to K-pop, it was like 10 times better because like K-pop's great. Yeah.
Can you put into words like how your emotional state is affected, positively or negatively, with K-pop over the years?
Positive and negative. Okay, so wait, you mean like when you listen to K-pop, like how do I feel?
Yeah, essentially, how do you feel? How has K-pop made you feel over the few years that you've gotten into it, transitioning away from rap and hip hop?
Oh, okay. The thing is, like, it's like Korean music has like a wide spectrum of emotion, right? It's like, the days where like I'm feeling good, like the sun's out, I'm like walking down the street, I'm like, heck yeah, today's a good day, right? I listen to like ITZY, I listen to like any song that makes me feel good, right? And then of course, on the polar opposite days, on like days where I hate life, right? I'll just like turn on a K drama OST and curl into a ball and cry, which is which is basically just like the two like complete like opposite sides of the spectrum. But I really respect like Korean music for that, for being able to cover that wide margin of emotion. And yeah, that's just how it does with my life.
It's very powerful that music and media can act as an external regulator for emotions, states. I mean, like you said, wide spectrum from ITZY being hyped, being happy, essentially falling in love with Yuna, and
Mm-hmm.
um, and K dramas with darkness, despair, things ending, but again, essentially falling in love with Kim So Hyun. So I I actually commend you for being able to articulate that and put that into like a peek into who you are and the peek into how you process things.
Mm.
Just the way that we have met and the nature of the internet in and of itself. Soju Talk is a podcast. Soju Talk is something we found on the internet and has brought us together. How did you find Soju Talk, and when did you join the server?
Okay. I think I remember this. This was around I think it was either late sophomore year or early junior year for me in high school. Cuz I started college a little bit early, right? And I was like I have lots of long bus rides, right? And it's like yeah, I listen to like music a lot, but it's like I'm gonna try to switch things up. So I'm gonna look up a podcast. Why not, right? And I kind of went through all my interests, right? Like kind of like superheroes, like video games, stuff like that. And then I kind of delved into like K-pop podcasts, right? And then I found Soju Talk, right? And Soju Talk back then, I think this was 2018, around there. Or it's like episode. I think there were only like 30 episodes at the time when I first discovered it. It was it was really different, I guess, because I guess the uh like the Discord wasn't around yet, right? It was just kind of like Doug Ward and Anita, right? And I was I listened to every episode, and just something about like just their banter and like the atmosphere they made with the podcast was like really. It's just like three homies sitting in like a room, like maybe had a couple drinks or so, and like they were just talking about K-pop, and I was like, this is really dope. So, and then once the server came on, right? Once the server came on, and once the communities really started to gather and like snowball into something like really really dope. Uh, I just kind of like fell in love from there, and like it was really. I was actually like really kind of like reluctant to join the server, to be honest, because it's like, yeah, I get it. Like this is a really cool like podcast, right? And it's like I guess I was like kind of like socially nervous to join this because, well, obviously not now because it's like a very different contrast of who I am and how I portray myself. But yeah, I was like kind of nervous joining a public server just because I have that kind of like stipulation. Just like I don't know these people, but yeah,
Yeah, no, it's a mental barrier for all of us, right? Where we go into a brand new social space, whether that's on a server online, or even like in real life with like school,
yeah.
going from high school to college. You said that you started college early, and there is something interesting about like developmental periods in someone's life, whether that's going to college early or being a trainee and starting at 12, 13, debuting at 15, like, Um, do you think you can reflect on how you starting college early kind of has shaped the way that you see and feel about socialization and like being around other people?
Well, it definitely helped break down like uh kind of like my mental barrier because it's like I'm kind of I'm what I'm what my sister and I described like as an ambivert, which is basically like I'm like it's kind of like a coin toss. I'm either introverted one day or extroverted the next. And I guess the whole early college experience started breaking down that shell and that wall for me because it's like I usually don't like socializing if I don't have to, and I don't know. I guess that was one like major thing, and yeah.
Were you academically ahead?
um, I think I was fairly to an extent. It's just like high school was like a breeze, right? High school was like so easy. Like I was the type to like rarely study but still like ace any quiz or exam, right? Not to flex, but like it's just how it was. So I was just like, this is kind of boring. Like high school is just kind of like super boring. I'm just gonna do something more. So I just like signed up for like a program to help me go to college early and help me get college credit. And well, my parents are of course like a big like driving force of that because this they always pressure me to always one up myself in some way. And yeah, that's where it was
Was that a challenge or a hindrance to the way that you socialized and related with other people?
for me. Like college, or
Being
like
somewhat academically ahead and then going to college early.
oh, ye, mm, I I guess I didn't. Okay, I guess I was like kind of like the social grasshopper, right? I would jump from like group to group, like say hi to people, etc., etc. But I guess I didn't really have like one solid like, hey, this is my group of friends. I guess I didn't really have that, but I was fine with it, right? I like being around like plenty of people, and especially like here on the server, right? I think it's one of the dedicated like, hey, these people are pretty cool. Like these people are I consider to be my friends, right? I think this is another good kind of like group of people that I found and I can engage with because we all have the same interests and whatnot. Yeah.
No, like you describing yourself as a social grasshopper makes total sense.
Mm.
Um, because like yes, like we all have our own interest here and there, but I remember during the pandemic, during the first few months of getting to know everyone on the server, you were definitely everywhere. You were in all the different channels.
Oh, absolutely.
You definitely had a voice, a very specific voice. But again, the thing that focused all of our attention and really accentuated our abilities to communicate and connect with other people was ITZY. What was your first memory of ITZY, and what was your first memory of ITZY on the server?
Oh my god, I remember clearly like the first. Okay, so I remember the first time. You know that there when you watch like a group, right? There's always that moment that hooks you in. You know that hook moment, right? It's like a moment that like you're like, "Hey, I need to dig deeper into this group and probably fall down the rabbit hole." So, of course, I don't know if I told this to everyone, but I basically discovered ITZY through the Soju Talk K-pop podcast, right? Because you guys were reviewing it and you guys were talking about ITZY. I remember Doug made a joke. It's like they should make a like a side group called Itsy Bitsy Spider or something like that. And it was like, um, so I was like, oh, okay, JYP new group. I like Twice. Who doesn't like Twice, right? Twice is freaking great. So I was like, I'm gonna check out their little sister group. And I remember I watched Taladala. I was like, this is okay. Like it wasn't like anything crazy. But then ICY came around, right? And I remember specifically I was on vacation with my family, right? And ICY came out. I'm like, I'll check this out, right? I watched it, and I could not get my eyes off of this one blonde girl in the middle. Uh, I, I think her name was like Shin Yuna or something like that, right? Crispy, do you know her, Crispy?
My memory escapes me. I'm drawing a blank. I'm not so
Yeah,
sure exactly who
I,
you
I,
mean, but I'll
yeah,
take your word for it. If this Shin Yu-na person is what is this blonde that you speak of?
yeah. Goes completely over my head too. And yeah, um, yeah, but like I was like, and I remember like for the rest of the vacation, I would like watch the MV and just like I would just keep watching that MV, and I would just be like, "Yo, she's she she's catching my eye, like no cap, she's catching my eye, right?" And then from there, everything I guess went downhill, but went uphill at the same time. I don't know. I just fell down that ITZY rabbit hole. I fell down the ITZY rabbit hell actually, and I've never escaped. So, Doug, Ward, Anita, if you're listening to this, you created this monster. You have yourselves to blame.
You know, it's
Anyway,
no, I think that's the beauty of the K-pop server, right? And Soju Talk itself, where they provide us the starting point of conversation through the main show. Just a weekly conversation of, just like you said, three homies having a drink, talking about K-pop and the things they love. For me, it was almost exactly 2 years ago, because this time every year there's an anime convention in the Bay Area called Fanime during Memorial Day weekend. And KDA was popping off at that time. Popstar had just come out.
ah, yes,
And
Popstar.
at Fanime, at an anime convention, you had a convergence of K-pop, anime, and gaming, all towards this song. And
Oh my
every
god,
booth was playing it. I was like, what is this? So,
that
you know,
sounds amazing.
naturally, like you want more of this sound. And I didn't really understand like girl crush, teen crush at that time yet. I still kind of understood like the girl crush from like Blackpink and like 21 from years past, but like teen crush, like this new iteration, was like I still didn't really understand. But I wanted more music that sounded like KDA. All right, so I found Dalla Dalla, great song. Listened to it a lot, but I didn't really get into ITZY until summertime, July 28th, when ICY dropped.
Shit.
And just like you, my mind was blown. I was like, what is this? What is happening? What is this? I actually didn't start listening to the podcast until after ICY, because I was like, I need more. I need to feed my veins. I need to pull this
North
tourniquet.
ITZY, correct.
I need to get these needles and tap them a little bit to make sure that there's no pockets of air in these needles. Not that I'm going to be doing anything with needles at all, kids. You know, be safe with needles.
Don't. Yes. Don't. If you're underage, do not pick them up. No matter if your boss tells you to. Okay. Do not pick those up. That is illegal.
Yes, and the only place that I am referring to needles are when you get your vaccine, because you know you should all be getting your vaccine.
Yes,
so
get vaccinated.
That is where the needles come in for me. But I just remember going down like a content hole with them, because at that point, like I still, the only content hole I got into up until that point was Blackpink House, almost a year before, 2018, and I love Blackpink, but I never like dedicated myself to more than maybe one or two groups at the time. So Twice was a thing. So Twice was like very much like in the running for like taking up my attention. But then ITZY, and then falling down that rabbit hole, all the content, and I'm just like, oh, this is my number 1A group. Now it's like it's game over. And like you said, you also fell down the rabbit hole. What is it about a girl group's content that helps you formulate that bond and that deeper affection for who they are as people, the journey that they've been through as musicians, and wanting to stay with them through all their projects moving forward?
Here's the thing with like girl groups, and I guess I'll use Twice as an example, because Twice is like probably the most like memorable and I guess prominent example for this. They're very like the performance is crazy, obviously, right? But off camera, or like on a variety show, let's say like Running Man or something like that, right? If they're able to like just show like a complete 180, like if they are just able to go full on crackhead, I am 100% seal of approval. This group is a S tier, right? Like Blackpink, Twice, and ITZY for me is like probably those like three groups that stick out prominently in my mind, fitting that category, right? And I guess like another thing is like I guess they're not afraid to, just be kind of silly, right? Like I can just remember like if there's just so many of those like Twice or ITZY on crack videos, it's all just crack with me. But anyway, just like I think that's the
very
main
on
thing.
brand.
Yeah, I'm very yeah. But yeah, if they're able to just like go nuts for like an 1 hour episode of like a variety show, I'm completely down with that group, right? Like Knowing Bros is a good example, right? And yeah, I guess the most important criteria for me.
I think it speaks to the visibility of K-pop that is very different from Western cultures. I think I've said this on a few other conversations I've had with people, and what makes K-pop distinct from Taylor Swift, from
JB.
Name any other Western artist. I am so detached and like out of touch with things happening on like the United States Billboard. But yeah, so like, ITZY and Blackpink and Twice, like you said, and Luna's a really great example as well, where they just they pump out content so often, so frequently, but that's really to form that double directionality of relationship. It's actually something I'm trying to like dig a little bit deeper in, but it's this idea that an idol can exist as musicians, as performers, but there is that next level of content to bring the audience into their lives, into their process, perhaps even showing them a side of their personality that they don't typically show on stage. So ITZY being a great example, where music video, stage, if that's all you knew about them, you would think they were very confident and like powerful dancing like girls, right? But then you flip to one of their vlogs, or you flip to Knowing Brothers, and all of them have distinct personalities. They're all either shy, like Shy Girl, like Cherry Young,
Dan Shy Girl,
or you have the bro region, where she's just you know, super
Stand shoulder girl.
super cool. I think in the most recent Knowing Brothers, how did they describe her? Um,
She was like, she was basically a dude.
what was the
She was
word they used? Pretentious region. That's
yeah,
the
yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then you have Yeji, who I think her bit right now is just to jump rope every single time she gets a chance to, which is amazing because
That's the that's
because
the thing I really. Oh, sorry.
no,
That's
go
the,
ahead. You're good. You're good.
that's the thing I think you and I really like about it. Yeji, like she like on stage, like if you remember the Studio Chu, like Artist of the Month thing, right? That performance, like she annihilated everyone's lifespan, right? Like she just we watched that and we just felt our life drain from our eyes. And then off the stage, she's just this like cute, like clumsy, dorky, like little dragon, and I love it. I love it. Stan ITZY, Stan Yeji.
There's
Um,
it's a kind of a funny phrase that is thrown around in different K-pop fandoms and circles. Like duality, right? Like what is duality?
yes,
It's kind of one of those like tropey words. But I do feel like it does describe certain idols very well. One of them being Yeji, where on stage she is probably uh, one of the most powerful, talented dancers, performers right now we have in K-pop. As far as like young girl groups, I actually looked this up. She is only 20. She'll be turning 21 at the end of the month, on the 26th. So just imagine how much further she has to go as a person, as an artist, as a performer. But then off stage, during variety, during whatever shows that they do, vlog channels, it's different. Pardon the pun.
it's
But
oh,
she's really just like this kid who's just like still figuring out like how to not be awkward, and still being picked on by her other members. And you would imagine it's like, oh, where's this like strong, powerful performer? Oh no, like you're just a normal person. You're just a kid. And I think that really adds a layer of like wholesomeness to how I like to think about idols and who they are as people, because
yeah.
at the end of the day, they are people. They do have a persona, but also, I don't think it does us as fans any good to to linger on
On that one
negativity
persona.
and
Oh,
yeah, so the persona, but like negativity and like being critical. Yes,
mm,
there's some things we don't agree with. Yes, there's certain ways in which the company doesn't particularly execute songs, comebacks, however you want to put it, the way that we want it. But by no means does that mean like we should like stay mad and furious and frustrated, because ultimately like K-pop is supposed to be fun,
mm,
right?
yeah,
And that kind of brings me to a very contentious topic of conversation this week, as ITZY has their comeback with Guess Who, the mini album, and we have
absolutely.
Mafia in the Morning.
Lo- Lovely song, by the way.
Let me just get your initial takes on it, and then and I'll follow up. So, what did you think about the song, and what did you think about the conversation the crew had on the show this week?
Okay. Like I think so. Okay. I remember coming home, right, and listening to this song, and I felt it immediately, like, cause I really like that like bumping like badass like vibe of this song, right, and it's like it's dope, right. I like really like it first listen, just the song only. I didn't look at the lyrics, right. I looked at the lyrics after, and like I guess I was like I guess I was like kind of confused sometimes at the lyrics, but after like some like I could put it together like, oh, they're talking about like they're referencing like a lot of things like the Mafia game, right? And how like in the morning, oh, you're already gone, so something like that, right? And I was like, oh, that makes sense. It's like a nice theming thing, right, with it. And I was like, bro, I liked it even more after that, right? And even like because it's like been a couple days, right, after it's been released. I think about a week actually, and I still enjoy the song. I still love the song. Like I get that the crew had a bit of lukewarm feelings on it, right? but like I guess it just didn't hit for everyone, right? I guess I think I just like the bump and vibe. Me and Mina enjoyed it a lot, I think, and yeah, I think it's just my takes on it.
But I do appreciate that the crew made it very clear and made a clear distinction at the beginning of the conversation and even at the end, where this by no means is a reflection of how they feel about ITZY as a group, as performers, as their abilities, right? And just who they are as people, because ultimately, like, they would like to ground their opinions in the fact that these are still kids, these are still people. But they were
And
talking. Oh, go ahead.
oh sorry, I was just gonna throw out real quick. Like I do respect their decision, right? It's like it's not like all songs aren't made for everyone, right? Like I kind of like I kind of like I kind of like roast out of jest, I guess. I like big for them, like, "Well, how dare you not like the song?" Blah blah blah. Yeah, but obviously I don't feel that way, right? It's just kind of a meme,
Yeah.
but it's like, yeah,
Yeah, I mean it's all part of the fun, right? Where it's like if there's a push and pull about something, I think it's safer to lean into the exaggerated nature of how you and I have engaged with ITZY content over the past 2 years.
yeah,
Um, not to, again, this is not directed at anyone in particular, but I'm just saying that there sometimes is this veil of criticism on the internet where um, places like Reddit, places like Twitter can say certain things because there's no social consequence if you get it wrong. So, for example, something like ITZY, where someone could say something super negative about either the group, the song, or whatever they didn't like about it, and then not have a back and forth or decide that the way that you joked about it wasn't funny. So they kind of come back at you, and it's like, well, then you missed the point. Because the point is, like, we're trying to have fun, and like you may see something a certain kind of way, but I think for you to take it almost personally, or you to come back stronger than it was intended,
mm-hmm.
it isn't something that we're doing. And I do want to commend you with like the affinity and affection that you show ITZY over the past few years. That, yeah, like, people don't have to love every single song that they do, but I think it all comes back to the reason why we continue to follow them. It's because we've grown some kind of personal attachment, and even if a song's not perfect, a release isn't perfect, we can still see the other objective parts of the song that make it enjoyable and add value to our own lives. And I kind of just want to get your thoughts on how the crew was able to separate that, right? Because I think they did a really nice job saying, this is how we feel about ITZY, we like them a lot. But then these are the more subjective details of the song, the production, and like the adults in the room, essentially, of why we didn't like this song.
I think that it was like you said, right? Like the crew did a really good job of like mentioning like, hey, we have nothing against these people. It's just like the kind of the people in the background, kind of like pulling the strings, I guess. It's they get a good job of that, right? And like I guess at first, like I kind of like I was kind of like half agreeing, half not. Like I'm like, of course, it's like that first listen side, like the song's still fresh in my mind, and I'm like, but this is a good song though, yeah. And but no, eventually I got to the point. I got like I kind of like snapped back. It's like, okay, it's not their taste, right? It's I guess like not something they were expecting, like message wise or something like that. But you know, it's fine. Like I still really much enjoy the song. I guess that's all that basically matters, right? It's like if it hits, if your fans enjoy it, that's fine, right? If some fans don't, then that's fine too, right? Maybe the next song will be better, right? It doesn't have to hit everyone. I guess this is the important part of the lesson.
Yeah, and I think you and I both agree that there's a separation between a song being like objectively critically acclaimed good and a song just being super enjoyable to our personal experience.
Yeah.
And I think the crew actually helped me understand and like process like kind of the larger scope of how the song could affect like K-pop as an industry, because I think it's really important that they kind of look into like the granular side of things that you and I, not necessarily that we're not aware of, but like I don't
or like
that's
overlook, kind of like
yeah,
overlook.
yeah. Like it's not a priority for me to like think about like how the industry is affected and like what this means about the messaging of JYP. It's like okay, like maybe JYP messed up and like made a song that like you know has a lot of musical issues, and that this is
Mm.
like the messaging to fans saying like we don't care. But also like the broader understanding of like well it's an industry and you also need to understand like if you're going to put out a product that people are going to buy, then there should be attention to detail, not just changing genres to change genres. And I think that criticism I very much agree with.
I think
Go ahead.
I think about that, like I'm just gonna say like this right now, like the whole argument of the whole JYP doesn't care about this group, that group, that's dumb. That's just I'll say it right now, straight up. That's just dumb. Because if they didn't care, they wouldn't put out music or even have them in the company in the first place, right? Like that's just bottom line. Like if you're gonna attack the guy, who's basically helping this group do what they do, then like it's like it's basically attacking kind of like the hand that feeds the group that you love so much, right? That's not being a fan then. That's kind of like just a dick move at that point. And I guess that's just all I have to say about that. That's just kind of what I see looking at all these opinions thrown around about like JYP and like how he manages his groups. So
Yeah, and I think it's a fair response to make it seem like JYP is being targeted. Kind of just bringing it back to the crew. I think they also made a really nice. Well, I don't know if they said it explicitly, but the way I took it was not JYP he himself, but JYP and like the adults in the room. So all the other executives that are managing ITZY, because I think oftentimes when we say JYP, we only think of the person. When JYP is a large conglomerate of an entertainment company that he himself is not the CEO of, right? So to me, I'm always trying to like make that like separation. It's like, well, JYP the company made these choices, and maybe someone over JYP's head basically said this was a great idea. We should do it this way. Again, fan response is another conversation, and I do think that's where like Twitter and Reddit like do get a little like tricky to navigate because like then you have kids who are jumping to various conclusions about just how they feel and like they see the three letters JYP and they immediately think of the man and then they attack him as a person. It's like, well,
yeah,
I mean, a lot of that comes from immaturity. A lot of that comes from not understanding the full process of how most industries work. But they kind of like spin it on like a more positive side. I do feel like the things that the crew talked about were valid, and I think using heavier language of things like "I don't care" isn't meant to be literal, or maybe it is literal. Maybe it's like just up to the interpretation, right? Because I always see that as there was a miscommunication or just something that just didn't work because a point of attention to detail wasn't thought out as clearly as it should have.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, like not defending the crew or anything. Like they're entitled to their opinions, and maybe if they meant it a different way than I'm interpreting, that could also be the case. But kind of moving into more like a positive light of ITZY. So Teresa and I talked about the song not being a failure in our eyes. Like I don't feel like it's a failure. I think it's a big swing. I think it's a really interesting choice to genre shift so soon in ITZY's career. But I also think that they are talented enough and can grow into whatever sound that they choose to moving forward. What are your hopes and dreams, I guess, for ITZY moving forward?
Uh, okay. Well, let's see. I'm kind of like gonna run through just real quick the title tracks, right? It's like the first three, like Dalla Dalla, Icy, and Wannabe were all about like, like women's self empowerment, right? It's like I'm a badass girl, right? I do what I want, whatever, right? And then I think Not Shy and now Mafia in the Morning is kind of like more uh it kind of shifts tone to like a I like this person kind of deal, right? And I'm not afraid to like, you know, come for them, right? And that's great, right? Um I like I think they all have like a message within each of their songs. So honestly, I think just keep riding that train, right? Like writing like songs with like empowering messages, like good messages that have impact on people, right? And of course, like it's got to sound great, right? It's got to be able to like get Mitzi's to play it on repeat, right? Of course. And honestly, just keep doing what they're doing. Just keeping crackheads. And they're already like an S tier group for me, and just honestly keep going so they can be an S tier group for everyone else. But yeah.
What style of music do you think, or what style of music do you want to hear next moving forward for them?
Ooh, that's that's a tough question. Honestly, I wouldn't mind a cheerful bubblegum concept. I actually would be 100% down with that because just to, just for maybe like a comeback or so, like them, like you know how like previous Twice was like a lot of bubblegum, right? And maybe them like kind of paying tribute, I guess, or maybe carrying the torch or something like that. Well, actually, probably more pay tribute because I don't think with ITZY's image now, I don't think they can just perma switch to bubblegum. I wouldn't mind if they did, but like I don't think it would resonate well with everyone after, you know.
I think they almost got there with Surf from the last album.
Oh, I love Surf.
Like that's a really great B-side that if they I don't like, so I'm not like as musically trained as Warren, but like I think there is something there where it could have been done with more energy, livened up to be a title track, but that one is like, oh, that's a bubblegum. Like this song could be a Twice song.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I agree. So I actually do want them to like maybe do something in that vein of a bubblegum song where it's still distinctly like an ITZY song, but it's like, oh, this is bubblegum for like for sure. Um, yeah, and I think again, like I don't know if this concept switch is permanent or if they'll go back into something like Not Shy or Wannabe. But I think the sky's the limit. I think they do have the ability to attempt at least any style of genre moving forward. Um, yeah, just a couple quick things before like we head out. So I know like we talked about the age and everything about the idols. Yeji having a birthday on May 26th. And Leah
Yeah.
turns 21 on July 21st.
Oh my God, they're all so young. Jesus Christ.
This is a topic that I did brush up with Mina and Max just about like growing up with the group, and I kind of wanted to bring this to kind of close our conversation with you and ITZY. Like growing your identity, developing who you are through your formative years, and then having a group who's so similar in age with you. How do you feel like their experiences are mirrored in parallel to what you were going through at this point in your life?
I guess like maybe like if I, cause like I guess they're like around, like the average age of the group is around my age, right? Maybe like 19, 20 ish, right? Um, so I guess it's something that I have to notice later on. It's like, so for right now, like ITZY is like a really empowering like hype group for me, right? And maybe like I'll have to observe maybe like later on in life if like, because like I kind of like started um listening to ballads like later on, like post high school life, right? So maybe if like their style of music changes to more like slow and like I'm trying to think of a song to use as an example. Maybe like a kind of like jazzy. Maybe if like transition from like hype to like kind of like jazz and like smooth kind of songs, maybe that would be like really cool for me. But I guess that's just the main thing about growing up and following along with the group is to see how their style of music changes, whether it matches your tastes or not. You know?
What have you learned about what have you learned most about yourself over the past few years with K-pop being such an important part of your life, and then ITZY seemingly growing up at the same time as you?
I think just how um how I've seen, I guess, like how widespread it's become, because like I mentioned like earlier with the podcast, I was like in early high school when BTS really popped off, right? So that train has went full force and is still going, right? Um, so I've like noticed um, like Korean like K-pop music and culture like seeping into other people. Like I know a couple friends from my church who have started watching like K-dramas, right? And I've like noticed that there's like tons of people around my like friend circle who know of K-pop, like they know of Twice, right? Or they listen, or they're full on stands, right? And and of course the Discord, right? The Discord is great. It's awesome. If you're not in the Discord for some reason, you should join. But yeah, I think it's just like it's just a K-pop's been a huge key and like kind of like been like something that's been sprinkled throughout my entire life. Yeah.
Nice. And we'll end it there. Bagel, I really appreciate you coming on today and talking about ITZY and life and just like growing up. I actually did learn quite a bit about your perspective and where you come from with all this. So
Thank you.
it was a really great conversation.
Thanks for having me.
Anything you want to plug before we head out?
Okay, so of course, I'm gonna do my boy Mina a favor. For those of you who want another podcast to listen to that is not as professional as this one, right? It's a little more impromptu, random, and extremely chaotic. Um, you guys can listen to the Dumpster Cast on Discord, or not on Discord. Sorry, on YouTube and Spotify. Just look up the Dumpster Cast, and it should show up, right? Fully. Crispy's on it. Been on it a couple times. He's kind of been the source of the calm, right, between me and Mina's extreme crackheadness, right? Yeah, just look up the Dumpster Cast on Spotify, and it should show up. And yeah, I guess that's the major thing I have to plug. That's pretty much it.
Nice. All right. Well, thanks for joining me. Really appreciate it. And yeah, hope to have you back soon to talk more ITZY.
Absolutely. Next comeback, baby. Oh, a summer comeback? Summer ITZY comeback? I'd be so down for a summer ITZY comeback.
Thanks to Baegle for joining me on this deeper discussion on ITZY. It was a pleasantly toned down, crackhead energy conversation, and I'm looking forward to having it back to talk more ITZY. Subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify or your preferred podcast platform, and continue the conversation on the Soju Talk K-pop podcast Discord. I'm Crispy, and this has been the Soju Sessions.